So with that having been said, I'll open it up to any other questions that you all may have.
Mr. Mayor, Mark, you would have to not live on this planet to realize that there seems to be worldwide, especially among young people, pursuing democracy. We have limited democracy here, and I'm not just navel-gazing. I really would like to know why you think we have democracy, but we don't have any power after we get this limited democracy. We don't have representation in our national legislature. You've spoken about you'll be glad to lead civil disobedience, but you don't want 40 or 50 people. You want more people. I'm not advocating violence, but I am advocating.
Please don't do that, Mark.
I am advocating. I guess let me try to frame it in a question. You've lived here your whole life. I've lived here 45 years of my life. Why is it that the population of this place is so accepting and accommodating their undemocratic status? And what can you do, or can nothing be done? Well, it would just require a spontaneous eruption like in Cairo. Where are we psychologically, existentially, seriously, before anything changes?
Well, first of all, Mark, I don't know that I have a full explanation as to why, why we experience what we experience and why people seem to be somewhat accepting of it. You're right. I've been to rallies with 50 and 75 people there. To some extent, it just seems to be a resignation to our plight, that it is what it is. The District of Columbia doesn't have, doesn't have a vote in Congress. We don't have the other rights that people enjoy, and a seeming acceptance of it. Also, to be honest with you, I'm not sure, this sounds odd, especially when you get outside the city, to what extent people fully understand this. I have taken the opportunity, everywhere I go now, I talk about this issue. I spoke at the celebration of Abraham Lincoln's 202nd anniversary of his birthday on Saturday. And a lot of the people in that audience, I think, were folks from somewhere else. And I could see in their faces that, you can tell when you're standing at a microphone. You could see in their faces that they were getting information they didn't know. That people didn't know that the District of Columbia pays $3.6 billion in federal taxes, that we don't have, beyond a non-voting representative in Congress. I think we've got to do a much better job of getting the word out. And it's not just talking to ourselves. We've got to get other people educated around the nation on this. And frankly, I think by me, and I'd like to invite the council members to do this also, every one of us ought to incorporate into whatever, presentation we're making, a discussion of the disenfranchisement of the people in the District of Columbia. I'm perfectly prepared to provide leadership. We see evidence of it where, on the one hand, people talk about education being a state and local prerogative. Yet the decisions that are made about education in the District of Columbia by our national legislative body. Why should we have issues about needle exchange decided by the national legislative body that prohibit us to use our money? That would not happen anywhere else in America. So I think it's a combination of education and, frankly, exhortation.
Reverend Jackson, when he was here for the short period, said, I asked him, when will it change? He said, when it rises to the level of personal insult. What more will it take for people to be insulted? Or there's a former mayor sitting in the front row. There are other mayors. Nothing has happened. How do you make something happen, or can you not make anything happen? And how does the body politic get fed up and do something?
Well, again, Mark, I don't want to be repetitive in what I said. I would never take the position there's nothing we can do. That really is a lack of leadership, and that is depressing to communicate that to people. I think, again, one of the things we have to do is to educate the populace in the District of Columbia to the plight that we experience every day. You and I have talked about something that I bet you not 2% of the people know in the city, and that is that we can't get one of our statues in the Statuary Hall. I saw them just yesterday in One Judiciary Square. They're sitting in the lobby where every other state has a statue. Pierre L'Enfant and Frederick Douglass statues, which are magnificent, are sitting in One Judiciary Square here. I wonder how many people in here actually knew that we don't have our representation there. We have the statutes, and we can't even get the legislation through the Congress to be able to make that happen. I think we've also got to decide, what are we fighting for? I think that's somewhat confusing. Are we fighting for voting rights, or are we fighting for full self-determination? And to me, they're two very different things. And we need to then be able to stand up and be clear about what that message is. Alan?
No, it's a different subject.
All right, can I go to Mark then?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Joanne Emerson you met with, she's the chair of the Appropriations Committee. Did she say to you, you had a meeting with her, I saw you going up there to see her. She's friendly to the city. She voted for the voting rights bill. She grew up. She lives in Georgetown. She grew up in this area. What did she say to you about those exact waivers that are very destructive, also abortion services?
Well, first of all, she is a friend of the city, and she expressed some regret because some of this is coming from elsewhere, as you well know, Mark. I personally, you can ask her, she can speak for herself quite well, but I personally don't think that she supports this needle exchange, this ban on spending our local funds for needle exchange.
Members of her subcommittee to vote against her leadership.
Well, both Congresswoman Norton and I expressed our distress at this, both on the fundamental issue of home rule and then the more specific issue of not letting us use our own funds in this particular instance. Now, what she will do in the aftermath of this, I don't know, but I don't think she's confused about where we stood on this issue.